You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends since first grade, now dads reliving the Disney movies we grew up on with our own kids. I'm Eddie Ferguson.
And I'm JB Wagner, and on today's episode, we blast off to fight the Nazis and get the girl as we review The Rocketeer. But first, Eddie, how's the family doing?
We are doing just peachy. We are fresh off of a big camping trip, and I know you cannot relate to this, JB. Because
not at all.
Camping is not. But we at the beginning of quarantine found a great deal on a pop-up camper, a 1989 pop-up camper, and spent a whole bunch of time during the lockdown fixing it up, making it our own, and modernizing it a little bit. So we wanted to get out and use it, so we went on a really big camping trip. And I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but usually, the most stressful moment of any camping trip is backing the camper into the camping spot. This is as soon as you get past that, it's wonderful. We love it. There's no problems. The other inconveniences aren't really inconveniences to us. And there's this new thing that's developed, because I'm new to this. We used to be tent campers. And so I'm a little nervous, a little insecure in my manhood, right? Like, I should be better at this, but it's really hard, especially it's a tiny camper, and we're pulling it with a minivan. So the physics is just crazy here, trying to maneuver all of this. And there has been this new thing that I've realized: our kids know when this is about to happen. Because literally, like, the second I click into reverse to begin this very intense, stressful process, I mean, click into reverse, the kids lose it.
You mean like mad, angry, whatever?
Ellie's screaming. She needs food immediately. Lewis is like, get me out. Ah! And everybody's going nuts. And, poor Sarah's trying to help me back into whatever site that this is. And so it's just like, so we had a big camping trip where we had multiple stops along the way, and we're, trying to get into these sites. And there's just something, there was like this little trigger in those kids' mind. The second click into reverse, we need this and fruit snacks, and can I have an applesauce, and can I, yes. So besides that, though, wonderful experience. We love having a camper now, and just kind of gives you time to just focus in on the four of us, and to get away from all the craziness in the world right now.
That's awesome. From my years touring, that was always the scariest thing, having to back up a van with a trailer. It was. Yeah,
I forgot you did that.
An art form, and I don't know how I'd rate my artistry on that, but I think I've gotten better. But yeah, if you haven't done it a ton, it's a learning experience. It's
really hard. So when we first got it, so the local grocery store chain went out of business a couple of years ago, and they've never filled the marsh, right? So we live right next door. So there's this giant empty parking lot. And so I'm like, perfect. This is, I will learn.
Did you go test?
I spent hours over there with our camper hooked to the back of our minivan, practicing.
Did you bring cones? Did you bring cones with you?
No, because there's yellow lines on the parking lot, so that's enough. That'll figure out. I was awful. And then, so our very first camping trip, I pull into Brown County State Park, one of the really good parks here in Indiana, and I'm super nervous. Here we go. The second we pull up, there's these two old dudes standing right by our campsite. And I'm like, they're just totally gonna judge me, because this is. So I just kind of roll down the windows, and I'm like, hey guys, how's it going? And they're like, yeah, good. It's good to be out camping. Yeah. So we just kind of had a rough and a gruff man moment. And I just said, hey guys, don't judge me. I'm new at this. And they just both went, oh, you'll do just fine. Let's help you out. And one guy stood on one side of the van and just kind of very kindly, he's like, oh, just turn your wheel a little bit. It was like perfect grandpa tone, just like, let me help you out. Then the other guy stood on the other side of me going, wow, man, you're doing really good. Good job, buddy.
They were affirmative.
Way to go. They were super affirmative. And I was like, this is a great first experience, you know? One guy going, well, here's how you do this. Oh, keep your hand at the bottom of the wheel. All right, yeah, turn a little bit more here. And then the other guy's just like, oh, you're doing so good. You're doing good. Wow. Good job, man.
Wow. And
then we get all backed in, and we spent the whole weekend talking with them, and their wives came over, and it was a ton of fun. That was a crazy backup experience as well. But that is not what our podcast is about. If this was about camping, it'd be a little lopsided.
I would not be a guest host on the show if it was about camping, other than to be a detractor.
To try and convince people to not go camping.
Exactly. No, what this is we are going to be talking about the Rocketeer today. And normally we would be taking you down memory lane of what happened this year, but we are still in 1991. So we wanted to talk 91, right, Eddie? We're in 91.
Yeah, good year, 1991.
1991. So today we're going to give you some news on Disney movies that are happening now, the year we're at now. And Eddie, I feel like something just dropped that we may have been excited about.
So let's just say this. We are heavily utilizing Disney Plus, right? Like, I think in our list. So
this podcast would not be possible without Disney Plus. It's not sponsored.
It's not sponsored. Though we'll take your money if you want to. Disney Plus is starting to like realize, oh, we really need to start pushing out more original content and do some stuff. I know that you and I are both watching The Right Stuff by National Geographic on there.
Yes.
Which is a pretty good show. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's like sign up for the service worthy, but it's pretty good.
Yep.
There's a few scenes in there where we're like, this is Disney Plus. Good thing we're not watching this with the kids. And then the show of Disney Plus that I think if they didn't have, everybody would be like, yeah, no, get back to us later, is The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian.
Dropping season 2 yesterday.
At the time of recording.
Which hopefully this will come out this week, and so it will be
very
timely. Eddie, how long did you stay up till 2 or 3 a.m. so you could watch it when it came out on the West Coast?
On Thursday night? No. We waited the full day, actually. We watched some of the newer things that have dropped.
What do you mean you watched other things than this? Than The Mandalorian yesterday? So
I'm a big fan of the One Day at Disney mini shorts on Disney Plus that have been like, dude, they've got like hundreds of these things in the bank. Like every Friday, a new one drops. I don't know if you've watched any of these.
I have not. I'll have to look it up while you're talking.
So they did like a long form documentary, which was just a why we're a good corporation PSA. And it was like, okay. But the other ones, they're like 10 minutes long, and they highlight the random jobs that people have at the big, like at the Disney corporation level. So like this week,
Day at Disney, is that what this is called?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It was like one of the college basketball announcers for ESPN, and they just did like a quick human interest piece on him. They like do the guy who manages the studio ranch called Golden Oaks Ranch out there in California, where like they have the large backlot sets. And so it's just like follow him around for the day and like how he does it. To the guy who operates the trains at Disneyland, to even like the CEO, to a Pixar sculptor, like they just all these random jobs all across the Disney corporation.
And you chose to watch that instead of watching The Mandalorian.
Well, so The Mandalorian is special, right? So you hold that like that is.
I guess you got to wait till the kids fall asleep. I guess
the kids have got to go to bed. Time. You got to pop some popcorn. Got to get yourself a little drink, and you got to sit down and you got to be able to enjoy that. But then, so leading up to that, we watch all the other new things that come out on Friday. Friday's my day off, so we've got a little, it's a little bit more extra time there together.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, the magic of Disney's Animal Kingdom is a big hit in our household.
Of course.
We've got to watch that.
Of course. That makes total sense. How did you feel watching the first one? I don't know how much we should give away in this podcast for people who haven't seen it. Because everything else we're doing, we're like spoiler free. It's been out for 30 years.
Yeah, you should already know. So it took me like 30 seconds to remember, it's in a very episodic show. Like each episode is a contained story that gently nudges the greater story forward.
It definitely went back to, it felt like another episode of the first season where it's like, okay, now we're continuing the story. There's a new slight difference. He's looking for, I don't think it gives anything away. He's looking for more Mandalorian to help him on his journey to get Baby Yoda back to
the child.
Sorry. Well, hold up. I think we actually have someone who can weigh in on this, on what the name is. Hey, Baby Yoda, can you tell me a little bit about what
you have one of these?
What was that again?
What in the world?
I think I don't know if I told Eddie about this, that we got one, and it's an animatronic Baby Yoda. And it can use the Force, too. I just don't know how to get it to do the Force. It does it randomly. Come on, do the Force, Baby Yoda. Anyways, so Baby Yoda right here says no. Its name is Baby Yoda. And it's, because this is a podcast, it's animatronic and it moves and stuff, and we paid a good bit of money for it.
But it's very cute. And
it is very cute, and it sounds exactly like it, and it kind of sounds like our daughter. So, and it'll use the Force at times, and it'll like get real tired. But there was definitely some great Baby Yoda moments in this first episode, packed with little moments, like when it comes out of the can or whatever, and it kind of lifts his head up. I may have done a screenshot of that and put that on Instagram right away. So it felt just like the first season. The things we loved, brought in a big name actor into it. For the moment, because a lot of times it's kind of side actors or whatever. Brought Timothy Oliphant into this. It's not anything anyone doesn't know about.
Well, and John Leguizamo was in there as well. He voiced one of the more alien-like characters.
Oh, he did? Which one was he? The opening guy that they're in, or who was he?
The Cyclops guy.
That's right. Yes,
I believe. Yeah.
Awesome. I did not know. Yeah. I did not recognize that. But no, it was definitely fun to have it back, and we are fully engaged in another season. And actually, when we were at the store, it was like, man, we got to pace ourselves through go. This is like, no, honey, Disney's pacing it for us because they're only doing one a week. It's just like,
I like that. I do. I really do like that. Like Stranger Things on Netflix, we can't control ourselves. We just watch it all in like a day and a half. No, and this season, at least in this episode, just really leaned into the Western feel. Mm-hmm. Like, when he walks into that town, it's like a perfect Star Wars ghost town. Mm-hmm. The second he starts going into that town, I'm like, yes, I love it.
He's even got, I don't know what is supposed to be rattling on his boots, but it even sounds like spurs.
Yeah.
As he's walking through.
Hey, speaking of spurs, have I ever given you my spurs advice?
No.
Don't ever squat while wearing spurs.
Thank you for that dad joke, Eddie. Well, anyways, we don't want to spoil too much about The Mandalorian because we want you to go out and watch it yourself. So I think this is a good time for us to pivot towards what we're really about. Yeah, I think that was a good segue. A bad dad joke. Let's really talk about what we're here to talk about, which is The Rocketeer.
The Rocketeer. Are you gonna
Eddie? You missed it.
Oh, I missed it.
You missed it.
Cue the Disney sound effect.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you for doing your job. You had one job.
One job.
You had one job. So let's go to the IMDb description of this. Let me get my voice ready. A young pilot stumbles onto a prototype jetpack that allows him to become a high-flying masked hero. End scene. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good description. We've had some other duds on here. That's pretty accurate.
That's accurate.
Eddie, you hold all of the nostalgia for this because this was my first time seeing it again.
What?
I know.
You had never seen The Rocketeer prior to this?
I had never seen it. And in fact, I was looking up some pieces while I was on my lunch break at work. And a coworker looked over next to me. He's like, what is that? Is that The Rocketeer? I loved The Rocketeer. And I'm like, yeah, I've never seen it. They're like, you haven't seen it. So go for it. Rail against me.
Had Colby seen it?
No, she had not either. Your face for the podcast listeners is shocked right now.
So, okay.
You're reevaluating our entire friendship.
I'm
right
reevaluating
my life choices.
Like, coming up on our list, we're going to cover Wild Hearts Can't Be Broken, which you haven't seen either. And that's understandable. It's
the deep cut.
Shipwrecked. That's understandable. All right.
Deep cut.
The Rocketeer now has like a cult-like following amongst us Disney 90s kids, right? This was on repeat. Like, I would strap my backpack to my back and fly around our house. Like, this was, Rocketeer was in the echelon of, if I'm saying that word right,
echelon
of superheroes I wanted to be. It's like Batman and the Rocketeer.
Wow, that is high praise.
Because he was just like a normal dude that just happened to find something, and he's fighting Nazis and he's going after his girl.
Just a normal, average, incredibly good pilot, good-looking pilot who is dating an actress, Jennifer Connelly.
An aspiring actress.
Aspiring actress, yes, we should put that, but still, nonetheless, it's Jennifer Connelly.
And I love this era. Like, my parents often joked, even when I was a kid, how I was born in the wrong era, because I love like all things like 30s, 40s, and 50s. Because one of my other favorite movies as a kid growing up was Dick Tracy, which was kind of put out by Disney. It was put out by their Touchstone Pictures branch. I couldn't get enough of that. Like, just kind of the 30s, 40s comic book mobster stories like that.
Well, if you love Dick Tracy, there's a lot of Tommy guns in this. A lot of Hoover FBI agents chasing people around everywhere.
There's so many good moments, right? You tell me you enjoyed this.
I had a smile on my face watching a lot.
It's so good. It's just fun.
I don't know about the word good, but it put a smile on my face. The fun. It was funny. It was definitely humorous watching this.
I'm gonna guess your two most favorite moments.
I'm ready for this.
I think number one is when Eddie Valentine turns the gun on Neville Sinclair and says, "I may not make an honest living, but I'm 100% American."
I literally wrote it. I stopped the movie and I went back and I wrote it down word for word to make sure I didn't miss what happened.
I didn't need to write it down. I had that
amazing.
Memorized.
It was amazing.
The second, it's not a line. It's a moment. It's when it's shortly thereafter, he climbs to the top of Griffith Observatory, and we need to talk about the director, Joe Johnston, here in a second. Joe Johnston perfectly frames the shot that he flies off to go get the girls from the Nazis. Up on the little pedestal, gets into like the Rocketeer pose that's like on the poster. And Old Glory is just waving in the background. and the smoke perfectly billows out. And Old Glory stands as the Rocketeer goes to fight the fascists.
It was
that was your second.
Those two are the top of my list of
so good.
The pinnacle moments of this film. That line where the mobster turns and he's been doing bad things. He's been killing people, breaking them half all movie. And then he turns on the guy who's like, but there's something worse than me murdering people. It's
not being an American.
Nazi. I'm 100% American. We can all, and that's really what we're missing in 2020, right? Is we don't have one villain that we're all against. Yeah. We need some more Nazis in our lives. That's not the moral consequence we want to get from this movie.
The other subsequent scene that is beautiful in that is the moment where Eddie Valentine and the FBI agent are like Tommy gunning the Nazis next to each other, and they just kind of turn and wink to each other and then keep Tommy gunning. I'm like, yes.
So we know the FBI is trying to find these guys who stole it, and the whole time you're wondering, what is the main bad guy? Why is he wanting this so bad? I'm like, are they gonna ever turn this, or is it just a billionaire or a billionaire, whatever, just trying to get the latest tech? I'm like, what's happening? I was not ready for the Nazi turn. I was not emotionally ready for all of a sudden it's like, but he's secretly a Nazi.
Yes.
I just kind of lost track of like, oh yeah, we're in the 30s right now. And that was all the rage at that time. But I loved the trying to throw in some real people in there, like Howard Hughes. There was another director, I forgot his name, that they threw in there. We do get some
Clark Gable. You get a little Clark Gable.
I enjoyed some of the random actors in this, including John Locke from Lost.
Yeah,
plays Howard Hughes. We also get Jan from The Office, right center stage in the club, singing her heart out.
Was like, wait, is that? And I was
like, that's Jan. That was Jan. Also, I just want to say this. So Timothy Dalton, the actor, I'm 100% sure. I'm pretty confident that he started a voice acting school, and Sean Bean went to that school. I could not stop thinking about, he sounds really familiar. What is that? It's freaking Sean Bean from Lord of the Rings. It's almost to a T, the way that he pronounces things. I'm like, are these guys have to be related, because there's just too much overlap in it. But the whole movie is, I saw someone put it that it's unironic, pure 1930s. Like they weren't trying to be self-revelatory. They weren't trying to have a third, or I don't know what the right word is for it, but like be aware of what they were doing. They were just like, we're just going to make America 100% good guys, bad guys trying to save the world.
No, they lean into, the mobsters, the cars, the South Seas Club, and of course, you get Griffith Observatory, which is just this classic architecture. Yeah. And I love Art Deco style to begin with. And so like they just like layer it.
The poster for this is incredible with him.
Oh yeah.
Jutting off into space and like the lines and everything like that. It's one of the best movie posters I've ever seen. It's iconic. I kind of want to get it and put it up on my wall.
I think
we can replace this poster behind me right here. This this art behind me.
And the helmet, right? Like the helmet is so unique, but works. If that makes sense. Like there's sometimes where they try and do something that's unique and it's too much. That helmet is just so brilliant, which I read a little story as we were getting ready for this, where then CEO Michael Eisner, who was notorious for getting too involved in the details of movies, really wanted the Rocketeer to wear like a space helmet. Like what and they were like, no. And like he apparently like fought them for months on end. I'm like,
interesting.
Yeah, that would have changed a lot of the feel. Yeah. A lot of the nostalgia of this if there he is just with like a fishbowl helmet.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, one, because then you can see him and you know who is. Now,
His
granted,
identity.
this is also in the age of Superman, where all he has to do is wear some specs, and all of a sudden, no one has any idea who it is.
I get that all the time. I take my glasses off, and people are like, "Who are you? Are you a superhero?"
I don't know. I did have a moment yesterday because today is Halloween. Then when we were recording this yesterday, we were wearing we were like encouraged to wear Halloween costumes to work if we so desired. Someone came as Ron Swanson from Parks and Rec, and he was a perfect Ron Swanson.
Yeah.
Saw another guy from Fight Club, but I decided to wear.
Was he allowed to tell you?
He didn't say a word. I just kind of knew. It was just kind of like a wink, wink. And so I decided, because I am not a Tennessean by any means, but I live here, that I would spend $20 on a giant orange Tennessee shirt and a camo hat with a Tennessee logo, University of Tennessee logo, just complete opposite of everything, all my own quote unquote personal brand or whatever. And and so many people just walked right past me, and all I had different was a t-shirt and a hat, and tons of people didn't recognize me. Someone actually was like, "I thought there was a stranger sitting at your desk working on stuff."
Seriously?
Just because I never wear camo and I'm not wearing flashy bright orange, like safety cone orange. So maybe having just a space helmet is all you need. So maybe we shouldn't follow Michael Eisner.
Wow.
There's definitely a couple other great silly lines in here when they're fighting in the I wanted to say dirigible, but that's not the right word for
Zeppelin.
The Zeppelin, yes. When he says, "Where's your stunt man now, Sinclair?" He says, "I do my own stunts." That was great. Get a real job. And it lends into people punching each other. The fact that his character is called Sinclair's character on the movie they're filming in the thing is called The Laughing Bandit, and his name is Sir Reginald. They're just like some just dumb things like that. Or like when he's trying to get to Jenny and he can't, and everything's getting in his way, and there's some dude with a random tambourine. It's like we can't just like make it kind of a lot of people. It's got to be like, this person has a giant is holding a baby, and this person has a tambourine, and it's just ridiculous. And it's because they're not trying to be ironic. They're literally just making you feel like you're in a 1930s ish movie, right, even though it was made all the way in 1991.
What I liked the little moment where when Neville Sinclair falls out of the air and blows up, and he's the reason why the Hollywood Land sign now just says Hollywood.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Did you catch that?
I did not catch that.
Because the sign used to say Hollywood Land, and now it just says Hollywood there on the hillside. He falls, and the rocket blows up, and he perfectly blows up the land.
No, stop.
And it falls down, and they zoom back and you just see Hollywood. Yeah, how did you miss that?
I need to go back and watch that because that's incredible. I'm going to show my wife that because she would appreciate
I love
that.
the little nods of like, this is how that piece of history happened.
This is how that happened. I appreciated the police report afterwards where they said Sinclair died while a piece of the Zeppelin hit his touring vehicle.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not true at all.
I love in rewatching this, I forgot really just how much I love I don't even remember his name, but just like the giant beast of a man. The giant man who goes, breaks into the hospital room, and then he breaks into their house and everything.
And he can't talk at all.
He can't talk.
Face mask.
And my favorite line in all of those is, "Where's the rocket?
Where's the rocket?
Rocket. Where's the rocket?" He says that like every single moment. "The rocket. Where's the rocket?" I just loved it.
What was funny though is then when he then gets pushed out of, or when he comes sliding in, then Neville Sinclair has an actually somewhat human moment of just like, oh, and he says the guy's name. I'm trying to I can't find the guy's name on the list here. And he like is genuinely sad that his body guy that like does all his dirty work for him is like dead, like presumably dead. And he's like, oh,
okay. Lothar. His name is the character's name is Lothar.
Yeah, when Lothar quote unquote dies, but then he comes back, he has that moment. It's like Lothar, and I'm just like, is that going to be the one human moment you have in there? Is your dirty work guy that can't even talk? Where's the rocket?
Where's the rocket?
With its face mask on.
He was played, no lie, the actor's name is Tiny Ron Taylor.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
That is so fantastic. No, that is a fun character. Like that kind of makes it even feel more like 1930s era. You've got the mobster and you've got the random like hitman. That is almost comical.
Yep. No, I appreciated the way that they approached the character of the Rocketeer, where he's clumsy. He's having a hard time figuring it out. He does have understanding of flying because he's a pilot, but at the same time, most of the time he's using that suit. He is not like oh, you better watch out. He's going to do a triple axel, whatever, kind of like what we expect from Iron Man. But he is clumsy. He's running into things. He's not really totally sure what he's doing when he's inside the club and he's destroying the whole club because he doesn't have a good handle on it.
Most of this movie like takes place in the course of like a day and a half, 2 days.
Yeah. So he doesn't have the time. He doesn't have the montage scene where he really tries things out. It's like, no, you're clumsily figuring it out just to do what's right or whatever.
Right. What's so sad is they had intended on doing sequels to this.
But it didn't make enough money.
But it actually, in its initial release, bombed at the box office.
Yeah, so I got like 4th that weekend as it was going up against some other bigger movies.
Yeah, I think this is before Disney like figured out how to play the box office game of don't release your movie when other big ones are coming out.
Exactly.
No, which is sad because I think I would have enjoyed that much better than like, I don't know if you've seen, there's a new Disney Junior show where it's like this little girl is now the Rocketeer, and
it's a Disney Junior show that is just kind of has a little bit of Rocketeer branding and the helmet. And I believe that Billy Campbell actually plays the father that hands down.
Oh, really?
He actually voices the character that hands down the jetpack to his daughter. The timing definitely doesn't work because if this is supposed to be in 1930s, like to now, it doesn't really work time wise. But with a grain of salt, like maybe that show doesn't take place directly in 2019 and when it came out. But you're right, they did try to remake some of it and usher it on into a new world.
Yeah, this movie for 1991. It's actually fairly advanced. Like there's some pretty amazing special effects. I think Joe Johnston definitely built upon Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and used some unique like stop motion, worked with ILM to create some pretty impressive, moments there. Especially
as they took on the lousy Krauts.
Took on the Krauts. That's the other crazy moment. Like the second where like a whole, I don't know,
SWAT team,
platoon
of Germans,
like in full Nazi uniform, just happened to be in the bushes.
And how did nobody see a giant Zeppelin flying over Los Angeles?
Well, that was intended. Remember, they planted that at the beginning of the movie when they went to the movies and there's a newsreel.
Eddie, I definitely was not fully aware while watching this movie that I missed those moments.
Well, you've only watched it one time.
I've only watched it one time.
I'm like 100 viewings in here. They do plant that where it's like they're on a peace tour, which is an interesting point. Like the movie takes place when there was still the debate of, are the Nazis as evil as they seem to be? Are they going to try and take over the world? Oh, yes, they are.
Yes, they are.
But there is that element where you're like, if you don't remember that this was like the mid-30s, you're like, how does a giant Zeppelin with a swastika on the side of it make itself all the way to LA? Well, it's like, oh, okay, then they weren't sure. We'll give them credit.
Yeah, whatever. So how would you, what kind of fruit snack rating are you going to be giving this movie, Eddie?
Oh, this is heavily nostalgia influenced. Even like, I think last year at Christmas, my nephew got this on DVD because my mom still buys everybody DVDs.
Of course.
We stopped and watched this all together and had so much fun. I got to give it, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5.
Okay. I'm probably going to give it 2.5.
2.5? I'm
going to give it 2.5.
No, it's at least worth a full 3. Come on.
Full 3. It's slapstick funny to me. I wasn't, and I don't have any nostalgia built up to it. It was fun. It was fun. There's been other movies that I've thought worse of than this movie, but
thought worse of.
I don't know if that's a proper grammar for that.
It's an interesting way to think of this.
It was funny. It was enjoyable. I didn't hate it, but I wouldn't say that I loved watching this movie. It was a one-timer. I'm glad I watched it.
A one-timer.
Yeah, I don't know that I would turn this on again. Sorry.
I love it. I also love the music. I think the score is phenomenal. James Horner, the Rocketeer suite. I listen to it on my own all the time. I could see this as being a good reboot.
Well, they've been trying. Well, for one, they said in 2016 that they were going to try to. There had some people attached to work on making a script for it. We haven't really had much news since. I think there might have been something recently about it. But you know what? They actually did make a version of this for more modern day. You know what movie that was that they made?
Oh.
Tomorrowland.
Oh, Tomorrowland. Okay.
There are so many shades of this movie in that, from the actual jetpack that the little boy makes in the opening section. But then there's also a callback to Beeman's gum when she is coming out of being arrested and she posts bail in her hat, and they're giving her stuff back. And here's a hat. Here's this one Beeman's gum. And I'm like, why did they go to the extent of saying Beeman's gum? Like, why is that such a big deal?
It's a Rocketeer
And so when
reference.
I saw the Beeman's gum, I was like, oh, and they had a huge product placement in the end of the movie. Here, you're going to always need some Beeman's gum when you go up into the air from Howard Hughes. I was like, there, it clicked with me. I'd already been feeling the shades of Rocketeer
Tomorrowland.
and Tomorrowland, the correlation between the two. But when I saw the Beeman's gum, I was like, that's what this was. So yes, they have kind of made it, because with a female lead actress, and instead of it being just locally, it's like, we're going to save the entire world from global warming. That's that, or climate change, or whatever. That and self-destructing. That's the way that they would remake this movie.
Yeah, it's funny how many people do reference the Rocketeer as like an influence or as a favorite movie as a kid growing up. I think the Brad Bird and Damon Lindelof behind Tomorrowland would have both said that.
Yep.
Yeah. It's good though. Did you watch it with the kids, or did you go without?
No, I had to watch it on my own just to get it in time for this podcast.
I was a bad parent and let Lewis watch most of it.
Did you feel bad letting him watch it?
And at the end, Sarah was like, "Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that." Like, yeah, maybe not really a kids movie. It's PG. It's a 90s PG though.
It's a 90s PG. I mean, it's not 80s PG, but it is 90s PG.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
That's funny.
So we kind of talked a little bit of like how it would be different in 2020. Do you think that there are some unintended morals of the story here?
Oh, yes. I think one of which is there's one thing that unites us all as Americans, It's hating the Nazis.
Hating the Nazis.
There's something worse than being a mobster. It's being
a Nazi.
Being a Nazi.
At least I'm not a Nazi.
And it's something we all need in 2020 to reunite us. So
fight the secret Nazis.
There's no kids in this movie, so we can't really talk about if their parents were dead because we didn't really hear anything about.
Well, we didn't really talk about the kind of father figure. I don't know if you call him the father figure. Alan Arkin's character.
I enjoyed Alan Arkin.
He was good.
He had more
it's
hair
just
in
kind of a
this now.
solid, like a solid, I don't know, sidekick character.
Q or Michael Caine's in Batman, just that sidekick. Or not even that. It'd be more like the Q in the James Bond world. But
I love this scene where his character is telling Howard Hughes how he could have built his thing better.
It's just standard aviation, aeronautics.
Standard.
Yeah, because Howard Hughes doesn't know anything about that. But yeah.
Oh goodness.
But, any dad tips from this movie?
Yeah, wait till your kids are a little bit older than mine, maybe to watch this. No, I think it does, though, speak to, I don't know. I enjoyed growing up watching some of these good versus evil, somewhat silly movies, you know?
Yeah.
I think that there's just a lot of fun to be had, but also that just kind of, understanding that there's good and there is bad.
Thanks for listening to another episode. Eddie, we always try to come up with a question for our listeners for them to answer, a poll question. Do we have a poll question for today's maybe a non-Nazi related one?
A non-Nazi related one. Somehow I feel like we could come up with another chewing gum question based off of White Fang.
Oh, yeah. There's a chewing gum. This is the Disney chewing gum era. Theme. Their year. This is the chewing gum year.
Is this a secret Disney chewing gum universe?
I think it is.
Like the Cornetto trilogy. The question I'm curious is, would you have just called the FBI straight up and circumvented the whole thing, or would you have strapped on the rocket?
That's a great question. I think we all want to know the answer to that.
Because I think I think most people would have just been like, I'm just calling the FBI. That's my guess, is that most would have just been, no, the FBI were just, this is obvious what they were looking for.
You would have trusted Hoover. You would have trusted Hoover. Just say it out loud.
We would have trusted the G-Men.
Trust the G-Men, because we're 100% American, Eddie.
I was going to say, I'm curious, how many people would actually have strapped on the rocket, like Clifford?
Yes. So please go to our website, honeywemade.com/listener, and you can answer that poll question and any poll question from our previous films. And while you're there, you can see what movies we're going to be doing next on our website. We've got the full list, everything from 1988 to 2005 that we're going to be covering. And if we've already covered it, a link to those episodes. But Eddie, you said you got to run?
Yes, I need to go get a little boy in his Baby Yoda costume so we can go trick-or-treating.
Nice. I got to go pick up some more Beeman's gum. So thanks for listening.